Today we are going to be turning back the clocks back to some of the worst years of most of our lives. Middle school. Hey guys, Melinda here. I am actually very excited to be talking about the TV show today. I have a lot of thoughts and comments, and so I'm just ready to dive right in and get started. Today I am going to be talking about the Hulu original TV series PEN15. For those of you who have never seen any of my movie or TV reviews, I like to review it in a way that gives no spoilers, so anybody can click onto this video, get an idea if they want to go watch it, hear my thoughts, my comments, and yeah, that's the spiel. Just to briefly summarize what this show is about is we are following two characters who are just starting middle school. So we have Anna and Maya, two 13-year-old girls that are not the most attractive and kind of geekiest characters in the show, but they're starting middle school, and basically this show is just bringing back to life what it was like to be a middle schooler. This show is set in the year 2000, so it's a little bit back then, but I can definitely say that I had a lot of relatable moments to this show and thought that some of the weird stuff I did as a kid was just me, but it turns out that this is something that other people do in their life, and that's reassuring. But basically that's what the show is about, is just like a coming of age story trying to survive middle school. Wow, when did this become Ned's Declassified? So without further ado, let's go ahead, get started, jump right in, and tell you about my first impressions of the show. So first of all, PEN15. Just looking at that title, what does that look like to you? Exactly. I'm not gonna lie, when I first saw the title, I just was like, PEN15, what a weird title. And then I actually like stared at it for a good 5 seconds and thought, oh, that's where this show is gonna go. When I first saw the trailer for it, I thought it looked actually kind of hilarious and wanted to watch it, but wasn't like quite committed just yet. The first season came out in 2019, so I was like kind of interested, but not to the point where I rushed out to see it immediately. And now there are 2 seasons streaming on Hulu. It is a Hulu original. It is also an Awesomeness TV production. Everything that I have seen that was produced by Awesomeness TV is very cookie cutter and not the best content. The way I would describe it is Awesomeness TV reminds me of like a Nickelodeon. So it's a lot of kid-friendly entertainment and not necessarily the best for adults. So when I saw that they were producing it, I got a little hesitant at first because I didn't know exactly what to expect at this point until the show actually started, and was very put in my place and checked at that moment that this does not feel like an average Awesomeness TV production. And there is a reason why this show is rated R. Very, very inappropriate, adult situations, adult language, adult content, very, very not for kids, even though it's supposed to be following 2 kids in middle school. Something that I specifically noted was that, I don't know about anybody else watching the show, but my middle school years was not as insane as these girls. Just to give you guys an idea, with no spoilers of course, there's a lot of adult situations and content that happens. They discuss a lot about sex and sexual acts and all the different variations. When I was in middle school, that wasn't a thing, or at least it wasn't around me. I don't know about anybody else. That's why I had a little bit of a shock value when watching this, because I just kept thinking, what middle schooler is going through this? When in reality, it's very possible that it was. I was just a very sheltered and innocent child. I can tell you though, even watching it as an adult, there were still moments aside from all of the adult content that were so relatable and realistic that I totally feel on a different level. Okay, I've rambled on enough and tried to do most of my notes from memory, so now I'm going to refer to my book. This is a very easily bingeable show. Each episode is anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes long, so like an average sitcom runtime. And there's only 2 seasons. First season consists of 10 episodes, second season consists of 7 episodes. So in total, 17. You can binge watch it in a day or 2. I kid you not. Everyday adult life, I was able to binge this in 5 days, which I think is still pretty incredible. Easily bingeable if you guys just want to run through it and get through it. So going back to how inappropriate this show is, the very first words that I use to describe the show are uncomfortable and awkward, which I guess is entirely the point. This show is classified as a cringy comedy, and yes, it is very cringeworthy. And I think it's mostly because they do such an excellent job at capturing what it is like to be a middle schooler. Everything at that age is very uncomfortable and very awkward. So the fact that they were able to capture that through a camera lens is pretty amazing, because it made me physically uncomfortable while watching it, because I was able to remember how uncomfortable I was when I was 13. Honestly, this show did a phenomenal job in regards to that. In general, even, because this show got a 97% on Rotten Tomatoes. That's pretty amazing. So yes, this show is very awkward and uncomfortable, and just be prepared for that as you're watching this. It is not gonna be just a nice, easily smooth storyline. It's gonna be very bumpy and gonna make you squirm a little as you watch it. Because this show is set in the year 2000, I feel that they tried very hard to make it nostalgic and capture what it was like at that time. So they focus a lot on things that were popular in the year 2000. So we got gel pens, we got rolling backpacks, we got hair clips, we have Ask Jeeves, which is the original Google for those who don't know. We have AOL, AIM, and duct tape wallets. So those were just a few that I noted while watching it. I will admit, year 2000, I didn't go to middle school until 7 years later. So 2007, I'll tell you that some of those things were still prevalent when I was in middle school. Other things were not, which is totally fine. I want to say I am a little young to remember some of this stuff, but for those who did use it at the time, it's a very realistic situation of what it was like in the year 2000. Which also wanted to bring back to explaining the title for those of you who might still not know what PEN15 is. This apparently was a game back in the year 2000. This was never a game when I was in middle school, or again, I was never involved in, so I'd never heard of it, never heard of this game. It's a way to tease other kids. Somebody would write PEN14 on their arm and go up to whoever the target is and say, hey, I'm in the pen club. Do you want to join? Of course I want to join. So then they have to write PEN15 on their arm, and again, just look at it. What does that look like to you? If you don't get it, I'm not explaining it. That was the joke. That was a way to tease kids in middle school back then, but again, was never a thing when I was in middle school. So I had never heard of this, and I was very curious where the title PEN15 came from, and there you go. I am very uncomfortable with the main girls, Maya and Anna, being played by 30-year-old women playing 13-year-olds. Especially because they are acting alongside actual 13-year-old kids, possibly a few years older, a few years younger. It just made it so uncomfortable, because there's the hot guy of the school, which one of the main characters, Anna, is like in love with, and he is a baby. He is a child. And so they have these really awkward and uncomfortable moments of like super close-ups of Anna's face like drooling and daydreaming over him, and then he's like moving in slow motion trying to look sexy and stuff, and it just, the whole thing is just so uncomfortable, especially knowing because this is a 30-year-old woman and like a baby, an actual baby. I understand the casting reason to have Anna and Maya play 13-year-old kids, because they wanted adults to truly capture the maturity. I saw an interview that they didn't want to put like actual 13-year-old kids through some of the inappropriate content that is within the show, so they felt a lot better having adults do it. To some level, I get it. On some level, it's still weird and gross and uncomfortable and Yeah, I was very impressed with the cinematography in some of the episodes, especially when we get to season 2. There were several one-take shots that are panning around a room or following a character and showing reactions to other characters and stuff like that. There were just a lot of one-take shots that actually came out pretty cool to watch and pretty incredible. Again, especially for like an Awesomeness TV production, you wouldn't expect to see something of that high-level skill within a show like this, but it was done very well and I was very impressed with what I was watching. I was a very big fan that this show covers some actual real life issues, such as sexual encounters, sexuality, smoking, drinking, racism, divorce, and bullies. A lot of these issues are very real in society, no matter what age you are in. There was one episode in particular where the main focus is on racism. Anna is desperately trying to change racism within the school. She goes to the school principal, she tries to put on a demonstration, like she tries very hard to bring attention to it, which I think is amazing, but I think as a 13-year-old, that is a very uncharacteristic action. That just didn't feel a little real to me, just because a 13-year-old is very consumed in their own world and doesn't realize what's going on in the outside world, but I still like the fact that they covered the topic and the idea within an episode. This show was pretty funny and very cute at times, that it brought back a lot of memories of like my first boyfriend and the first time I held a boy's hand, and it was pulling from all of these emotions and memories that I have of middle school that made it very relatable, very cute, and just I very enjoyed watching it. One thing that is also realistic and very relatable is the boy trouble and the mean girls. Ooh, I very much saw myself within this show. This show did a very good job at really capturing what it is like to be one of those awkward girls in middle school. I will note though that if you guys start watching this show, the first few episodes are going to be very off-putting and a little insane. Using this word again, very uncomfortable, but I promise you that this show gets way better the more you watch it. The end of season 1 was very good, and all of season 2 I very thoroughly enjoyed. So just know that it's gonna be a little rough at the beginning, but it is going to get so much better the more you watch it. As I was watching this show, I decided to do a little bit more research into it just because I was so fascinated and I wanted to know more behind the scenes. One thing I was very curious about is if Anna and Maya were like actual best friends off screen. They have such great chemistry together on screen that it occurred to me while I was watching it. I was like, I wonder if they're actually friends in real life, which they are. I found out that they met in college and have been best friends and have been inseparable ever since. And they started working on ideas for PEN15 about 4 or 5 years before it came out. I think that is so cool. The fact that you get to work with your best friend on something that you both are interested in, and not only do you get to actually write and create this show, but they were also asked to star in it, which is just absolutely amazing and makes me so happy for them. That is such an incredible opportunity and amazing for them. Also, Maya's mom in the show is actually Maya's mom in real life. Before I get too much further, because I don't want to make this a little bit more confusing, both the characters in the show and in real life, their names are Maya and Anna. They just changed their last names. So in the show we have Anna Cohn, in real life it's Anna Conkle. In the show we have Maya Isha Peters, in real life it's Maya Erskine? I don't want to say it wrong, but those are their actual names. I just didn't want to confuse anybody. So yes, Maya's mom in real life is actually her mom in the show, which just makes it 10 times better. Just absolutely amazing. Her mom is so funny in this show. She's one of my favorite parts. So it's very cool, not only that the best friends got to do this, but also Maya's mom got to play her mom. How awesome is that? How cool. The language in this show is absolutely insane. Some of the things that they said and got away with, I'm very shocked that they were able to do that, and I wouldn't ever dream of using some of the language that they use in this show. So fair warning, there is quite the potty mouths on everybody in this show. I did also note that aside from the great chemistry on screen together, they honestly are just amazing and phenomenal actresses. They play whiny, bratty teenagers so incredibly well that I honestly don't even think that a 13-year-old could play it better. So I think that is one of the great casting reasons to have adults playing kids, is because they can truly capture that and relive the situations. I just want to say that they are great actors and they did amazing in this show. I do have one negative critique, and that's there is this character, Becca. I was very confused with Becca's character. In season 1, she is part of the Mean Girls posse and is teasing and picking on Anna and Maya. But in the second season, there's an episode when they have a sleepover with a couple other girls and are acting like they're best friends. It was just so confusing, and I don't understand where her character plays into all of this. They needed to explain better whether she actually is just friends with everybody or if she is actually plotting something very devious and mean. I was just very confused by Becca's role because we see her playing everything. Like sometimes she's nice and sometimes she's not. So I just wish they would further explain her character's role a little bit better. And the very last note that I wrote is that I hope that there is another season. I very much enjoyed watching PEN15, and even though it is very cringy, awkward, and uncomfortable, I still enjoyed it. It was very entertaining, and I think it really just has to do with the fact that they captured the hell that is middle school and that can relate to everybody on at least one level. There we go. That is everything. Those are all my thoughts and comments on PEN15. I am split right down the middle. This half, I highly recommend this to everybody because it was so fun, and I think that everybody could get something out of watching this show. But then this half of me is just like, it's so inappropriate that you have to have that kind of sense of humor, because if you don't, you're gonna get very offended watching this show, and that's not gonna be fun for anybody. Keep that in mind if you guys want to go watch it. Very funny, very entertaining, but very inappropriate, and I just want you guys to be aware of that going into it. Rated R, not for kids, even though it's about kids. That is everything, and that is my review of PEN15. If you guys want to have a discussion, if you have any questions or just you want to talk about the show with me, leave that down in the comments down below. I'd love to have a discussion. Other than that, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you all for the support. If you like this video, go ahead, give it a big thumbs up. It would absolutely mean the world to me. And make sure to hit that subscribe button if you're not already and you want to see more content. With that being said, I will see you guys in the next video. Live life, always laugh, and enjoy the journey. Bye. I have a lot of thomats. I was pretty impressed by some of the cinematography. Oh my gosh, I cannot talk today.